Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Saviour here, and this time I am ranking all the secondary skills. Some are amazing and others are unnecessary. If you don't agree with me, let me know so we can talk about it. In the top info cards I leave you the playlist with fantastic tips for the game. Okay, let's go. Ballistics, I think it's one of the worst. It's only used in Castle Siege and only gains importance when you have few range and flying units. Of course, it's very important for the Knight faction since they only have one range unit. Perhaps that's why Knight heroes start with Ballistics. This is one of the nice details the developers had, but it wasn't enough to make up for the lack of flying units. Something they improved in Heroes of Might and Magic 3, adding 2 flying units. I think its place is tier C. The next is Pathfinding. One of the best skills. I always listed it as second to third priority in my quick guides. However, I don't think it's S tier. Let me explain. Pathfinding is a situational skill. Its effectiveness depends on the terrain. If you start in desert, swamp, or snow, of course, it's an S tier skill. But that's not always the case. So I think it belongs in A tier. In any case, you should always teach it to hero with high priority. Leadership. I really like it, especially when your hero's primary skills are very high. Moving a unit twice to attack twice or make a tactical move is very good. Normally, factions like Knight and Barbarians benefit a bit more, while Paladins, Crusaders, and Wolves are amazing with high morale. But attacking twice with a Dragon or Titan isn't bad at all, right? I think it's a solid skill for all factions. It belongs in B tier. States. I like it too, especially when playing on impossible difficulty, meaning no resources at the start. I also think it's best for factions like Warlocks and Wizards, where their units tend to be very expensive. However, there's also the Diplomacy secondary skills, which allow us to recruit neutral creatures in exchange for gold. So, if you have that skill, becomes even better, since you need more gold to recruit those troops. My favorite aspect of the game is the economy, so I think the state secondary skill is a solid B tier skill. It's very good, but not essential. Now we will see Logistic, but first, if you like my content, I invite you to help me with your like, subscription, sharing the video, and don't forget to comment. Will you help me? Logistic. Well, for me it's not the most broken secondary skill in the game, but I do think it's the best. And it's what I always choose first for my heroes. And why is it the best? Because it has an immediate impact on the game. As soon as you acquire it, the hero's movement is increased, unlike other skills that require certain conditions to have an impact. Perhaps a stronger impact, but it takes time. Also, as I said before, I like the economic aspect, and the logistic skill has a lot of impact there. Well earned the S tier. Wisdom, another of the game's great secondary skills. At expert level it allows you to learn the most powerful spells in the game, such as Dimension Door, Town Portal, Town Gate, Armageddon, Chain Lightning, among others. While it's true that damage spells are best used by factions like Wizards, Warlocks, Sorcerers, and Necromancers, broken spells like Dimension Door and Town Portal are used by all factions with the Expert Wisdom skill. For me, I place it in the S tier. The next is Mysticism, and we come to one of the worst skills. It's true that magic is important in Heroes 2, and to cast magic we need spell points, so why is Mysticism a bad skill? I think the spell points recovered per day is very low. If we compared it to Magic Well, it recovers all your spell points, just like leaving the hero in the castle for a day. If I remember correctly, this skill was improved in Heroes 3 Horn of the Abyss. Tier C. I think there's a worse one. Navigation. It's a skill that increases your movement at sea. While I certainly enjoy the exploration and economic aspects of the game, I don't like this skill too much. First, because not all maps have sea levels to take advantage of the skill. And second, I've never liked wasting turns entering and exiting the ship. Haha. For me, it's tier C, but if the map has a lot of island and sea, the priority goes up, of course. Necromancy. This might be a bit controversial. It's a very strong skill and is the main reason why the Necromancer faction is so powerful in late game. It also adds variety to the game by having a faction so different from the others. However, it's a secondary skill that only the Necromancer and Warlock factions can use. It also has a strong impact, but only in combat. These factors lead me to not place it in tier S, and instead place it in tier A. If you think I'm wrong, feel free to let me know. I'm happy to read other points of view. Tier A. Scouting. I might underestimate this skill, as I don't think it's bad at all. However, increasing the visibility radius can be achieved in other ways. For example, recruiting heroes to a scout or using the observation tower. So, I don't think it's a fundamental skill for the hero. It's not bad, but there are much better ones. It belongs in tier C. Archery. I really like ranged units. I love them. It's one of the reasons why I like the Sorcerers factions. So the possibility of increasing the damage of these types of units is incredible. Of course, it's best in factions or armies with at least 2 ranged units. Wizards, Sorcerers, and Barbarians are factions that take advantage of these secondary skills very well. But even if you only have one ranged unit, it's already a win. It may not be a first choice, but for me, it's a tier A. Eagle, and we come to the best of the best. Haha, I can't lie. It's the worst of all the secondary skills. It doesn't let you learn the best spells in the game, that is, the level 5 ones. And to learn the rest, you have to meet the requirement that an opponent uses it against you. Too circumstantial. If I remember correctly, I think this skill was also improved in Heroes 3. This skill is going to tier D. Let's continue with the luck skill. It seems very similar to leadership. Here we don't have a second movement for the unit, but rather the unit deals double damage. An incredible skill, especially for creatures that have a high damage range, like the unicorn. The only downside is that this doesn't happen 100% of the time, which is why I can't place it in the S tier, but it's definitely a solid B tier along with the leadership secondary skill. That said, leadership seems a bit better to me, because it gives you more versatility in combat. And finally we come to Diplomacy, which allows you to recruit neutral troops in exchange for gold. But sometimes it's even free. In addition, it has two other uses that you can see in my last tips video. I'm sure they will be helpful. For me, this skill is broken, or maybe I'm exaggerating a little. Haha. The advantage it gives you is too great. The main way to obtain creatures is in castles, and there are a few external buildings that allow you to recruit mainly level 1 units, with exceptions like Dragon City. The difference between a player who recruits only units from castles and another who also recruits units from the map is too much. So its play is in tier S. Despite having said all that, I always choose Logistic first for my heroes. Haha. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. I also leave you this playlist where you can see the quick guides for all the factions. If you like my content, I invite you to leave a like, comment, share the video, and subscribe. See you in the next one. Goodbye.